Hello and welcome, history fans, to History Play-by-Play. Today we talk about why Christopher Columbus was a thing at all, and later we'll get into why everything you know about him is wrong.
In all alone. Dangle, shot. He scores!
So in order to talk about Columbus and why he sailed the ocean blue in 1492, we need to talk about what circumstances were involved to start this, because it wasn't just people wanted to explore and people wanted to find new worlds. That makes no real sense. So let's back things up a bit. For the centuries before 1492, the spice trade has dominated Asia and has gotten a lot of things from places like China and India over to Europe. It was the main trade throughout the Middle East, carried along roads like the Silk Road, a lot of famous things that kept things going. It interconnected all of Eurasia and Africa for a great long time. At the end of that road for Europe was Constantinople and the Byzantine Empire. And the Byzantine Empire had been slowly shrinking away for centuries at this point. And finally, in 1453, Constantinople finally fell. Constantinople was conquered by Mehmed the Conqueror. Mehmed II from the Ottoman Empire finally ends the Constantinople. It will become Istanbul, and that basically gives the full power of what passes through to the Ottomans. Now, many will say that the Ottomans cut off trade. That's oversimplifying things. Really and truly, the Ottomans wanted to make money off of this like anyone else. Why wouldn't they? That's a great way to make money, is trade. The thing is that the Ottoman Empire is Islamic, and we're talking about European Christendom, and the two have a lot of friction, to put things lightly. That Christendom has done lots of terrible things to the Ottomans, to Islam, with numerous crusades, trying to take Jerusalem, just in general, terrible treatment. And so when it comes to who's in control and how can this work, well, the Ottomans, who are Islamic, who are Muslim, have no real love for the Europeans, and they don't need the Europeans. The Ottoman Empire, the Islamic empires at this time, are doing very well, and if anything, are doing better than Europe. They didn't go through hiding in medieval castles for 400 years. They are really the top of the food chain as far as advancements of science. They're doing well. They're doing very well. They don't need Europe. Europe might give them some money, but overall, that's bonus, if anything. So when it comes to any time the Europeans are demanding things from the Muslims are happy to say, no, go away. Oh, we won't shop here anymore. Do you promise? That good, go away. I don't want to see you anymore. So they are happy to cut off trade whenever it's necessary, and when it's not necessary, they can drive the prices to whatever they want. Okay, you're going to keep bothering us, well then we'll charge you triple. You still willing to pay that? And for a lot of Europe, they were still willing to pay that. Especially when you get to the Italians. The Italians were the best middlemen following this situation. The Italian states are very seafaring. They're very oriented to the sea. They had the best sailors. So they were willing to go to Istanbul and transport things to all the ports of Europe for a markup. I mean, they were really, really good at being the distributors of this time period. So they get very wealthy, and they have a lot of excellent sailors. Now, the thing is, when you see the map of Europe, and this is circa 1400, there are a lot of different countries between the Ottoman Empire and the western edge of Europe, namely Portugal. If you look at Portugal, you figure, okay, how many different people do my goods have to go through? If you want to buy something coming from the silk trade, all those goods coming from Asia, it's got to go through to the Ottomans. Okay, even if you deal with the Ottomans and their inflated prices because, well, you've angered them for centuries. Every different color there is a different country. And every time it passes hands, what's going to happen? prices go up. Everyone's going to take their cut. You know, if you make something, then you're going to have to get it to a manufacturer, and they're going to charge you something, and then you're going to get it to a distributor, and they're going to charge something, and then it goes to wholesalers who are going to charge something, and then it goes to the retailers who actually sell it. So by the time it gets to the customer after the retailers, there's a lot of times where someone's taken a cut. That's simply how this works. So by the time things get to Portugal, it's all way too expensive. It's not really a viable thing anymore. So Portugal starts asking questions of, what are my options? Where can I go? How can I get these goods without going through all of these middlemen throughout Europe? What are my options? They can't go directly to the Ottomans through the Mediterranean. That's the Italians' territory. They're not going to let anyone cut in on their turf. So Portugal starts to look to other options. And the man most credited with this is Prince Henry the Navigator. Prince Henry the Navigator was a prince who was third in line for the crown, does not expect to ever be king. So basically, he's a rich man with not much to do. And basically, he becomes an Elon Musk of the era of, okay, what things can I mess around with? What things do I like? And sailing and exploring is what he likes. So he opens up a school to try and put all the different ideas of navigation and sailing in one place so that they can work on a way to sail, find a way around to the Ottomans, to the Silk Trade. So the plan is they were going to look south and bounce their way around Africa. At some point, Africa has to let way, right? There has to be some path, the Portugals reasoned, and so that's what they're going to look into. So Prince Henry the Navigator and his school pulls together a whole bunch of new technologies. And when I say new technologies, I mean technologies mostly stolen from the Islamic world. The astrolabe, so that you can tell what your latitude is at night. The sextant, so you can tell your latitude during the day. Things we take for granted, like the magnetic compass, so that you know which direction you're pointing at any given time. And triangular sails allowed ships to sail into the wind. That's kind of important if you want to actually make a long trip where the amount of time you're out there, it matters for supplies and so on. So as they're bouncing south to Africa along the African coast, they run into the salt gold trade, which the empires of Ghana, then Mali, then Songhai have been trading salt for gold. This is really where this picks up. The people of Mali had plenty of gold laying around and not much use for it. And because of the temperatures and keeping food edible, they need salt. Salt cures meat so that it lasts a whole lot longer. That matters in a desert. So they were willing to trade the gold that they had no real use for salt that they had a great use for. And the Europeans were like, oh my God, we're going to get gold for cheap. These people are stupid. No, it's all about what you need. I always like to do the activity, if you're stranded on a desert island, what things do you actually value? And I put things like gold and jewels and cell phones and laptops. But if you're on a desert island, it doesn't do you much good. It's all about what's in your surroundings. This starts up a major trade. This is also where the Portuguese will eventually get into the slave trade. There are serious side effects to all of this. But this will continue. The Portuguese are now beginning to profit by bouncing their way along Africa and the salt gold trade. Things are looking very good. And as time goes on, by 1500, they will work their way all the way around. Vasco da Gama will reach India, the first European to get there by sail, where he will cause lots of violence, lots of death, killing many, many Indians, starting a growing European presence that leads to conquering and an empire. A tragic story, to say the least, except for the Portuguese. So Portugal has put a lock on this sailing south. So looking back to this, the other group that sees Portugal most immediately is in the similar situation to Portugal most immediately and has no other options either, is Spain. And Spain will unite, the kingdoms of Castile and Aragon will unite together to create Spain. They see Portugal's success. They know there's a way to do this, but they can't sail south. That's Portugal's thing. Even before da Gama makes his voyage, they have a lock on that. So what other options do they have? Sail north? Too icy, too cold. And you have other kingdoms who are working with that as well. Vikings still, it has a reputation, even if they're no longer a factor. So they start looking, well, what if we sailed west? Just how far is it? And that's where we Enter Christopher Columbus. And I won't say that's all I got for you because, well, there's a sequel to this video. You're just going to have to go find it. It'll be linked in the postscript. That's the end of the episode. What you just saw is this teacher's interpretation of events. If you use this for a class, let me know how that went in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you can figure out how today's jersey matches the content, let me know in the comments. That's extra credit. I'm John Baranowski, and thanks for watching.